Reebok didn't lose because Nike was better. That's the lazy explanation. Reebok lost because it stopped knowing what game it was playing and then got acquired by someone who knew exactly which game they wanted to win. This isn't the story of a brand that failed. This is the story of a brand that was strategically sidelined. At one point, Reebok wasn't chasing Nike. Nike was chasing Reebok. In the late 80s and early 90s, Reebok dominated basketball, football, the Olympics, and pop culture. Shaq wore Reebok. Iverson wore Reebok. The NBA wore Reebok. The NFL wore Reebok. Today, Reebok survives on classic throwbacks and niche fitness categories. So the real question isn't what went wrong. The real question is which decisions quietly killed Reebok's future. Reebok's early success wasn't about elite athletes. It was about seeing an ignored market before anyone else. In the early 1980s, every athletic brand was fighting over runners and male performance athletes. Reebok went somewhere different. Women's fitness. Aerobics exploded. Jane Fonda exploded. And Reebok owned the moment. This was a smart, asymmetric bet. There was no serious competition. The identity was clear. The timing was perfect. Reebok didn't win because it made the best shoe. It won because it chose the right customer first. But that success created fear. When Reebok looked at its numbers, one thing stood out. Too much revenue was coming from one trend. Instead of evolving that category and deepening their leadership, Reebok panicked. They expanded everywhere. Basketball, football, tennis, golf, walking shoes, kids' shoes, casual wear. On paper, it looked like smart diversification. In reality, it created identity debt. Nike was building a myth around elite performance and obsession. Reebok was building a product catalog. They no longer stood for one clear idea. They stood for availability. Reebok kept growing, but the growth hid a deeper problem. They were renting attention, not owning belief. Endorsements sold shoes, league deals sold uniforms, but none of it built a single cultural narrative. Nike wasn't selling footwear. Nike was selling identity. Reebok was selling SKUS. That difference doesn't hurt immediately. It kills you later. Then came the decision that changed everything. In 2005, Adidas bought Reebok for $3.8 billion. The public story was simple. Together, they would challenge Nike. The real story was different. Adidas didn't buy Reebok to build two winners. No parent company wants overlapping champions. After the acquisition, things shifted quietly. NBA contracts moved from Reebok to Adidas. Marketing attention moved. Investment followed Adidas, not Reebok. Reebok wasn't being scaled, it was being managed, not killed, contained. Adidas had a positioning problem. Nike owned performance. Adidas owned football and lifestyle. Reebok didn't fit without creating internal competition. So Reebok was pushed into a corner. Fitness, training, CrossFit, functional movement. This wasn't a growth strategy. It was conflict avoidance. Reebok stopped competing for culture. It competed for permission. The uncomfortable truth is this. Reebok didn't fail because it made bad products. It declined because ownership incentives changed. Once Adidas bought Reebok, Reebok stopped being the mission. It became the buffer. And this is the real lesson for founders. If your brand doesn't have a sharp, defensible identity, someone else will decide it for you. And if you sell to a bigger player, never assume they want you to win. Sometimes they just want you out of the way. If this breakdown changed how you think about brands and growth, hit like so this reaches more builders. Subscribe for more business analysis that cuts through the surface stories. And tell me in the comments, does Reebok still have a comeback left, or is the identity already gone?